We can film this too, it's like one of these days somebody's gonna come in real high and they're just gonna be like, Hey guys, welcome to Tailor. Come on in. So when you walk into Tailor, one of the first things that you'll see is this drawing. We named the restaurant Tailor because all of my grandparents were tailors by profession. This specific sewing machine was my grandfather's sewing machine. And when we opened, which was on December 6th of 2018, my cousin Prina came from Savannah, Georgia, and she actually sketched this for me. And so we put it in a frame and it welcomes everybody the minute you come in. So wanted to tell y'all a little bit about the space here at Tailor. Right now we're in the living room. This is a restaurant that we really just wanted to create that's really like coming into a friend's home for a dinner party. And whenever you come for a dinner party, you don't immediately just go to the dining room and sit down and eat. You kind of hang out in the living room first, you have a couple of cocktails, you get settled in, and that's where you socialize. And so that's kind of the vibe that we wanted to go for here. A lot of the design that we have in the living room is inspired by features in my own childhood home. And so we have a bunch of chandeliers that my dad bought at an antique shop back in 1993, and as well as some cabinetry that was pretty much the same type of cabinets that my sister and I had, and those are the cabinets that we used to put all of our like toys and stuff into. But I figured I'll kind of take y'all through the living room, show you a couple of things, and then we'll check out the rest of the restaurant. All right, so kind of the main feature of the living room is really this bar. It's a beautiful little bar that we worked on, and the key was we wanted it to really look like coming into a friend's home, not coming into a restaurant. And so the difference, the big difference I think is like you look on that back wall and there's no bottles or anything like that. We really wanted to put more knickknacks, plants, and things like that to make it feel a little bit more homey. And so that way, like when you come up and you have a drink, you don't really have to, you don't just stare at that, but you're prompted to have a conversation with our bartenders. So that way, it's like if you want a vodka martini, cool, we're happy to make one for you. If you want one of the specialty cocktails, we can do that as well. But it feels more like going into a friend's home where they're kind of like, hey, like, what would you like to drink and what can we make you? And then having that. We have this beautiful kind of quartz, black quartz, that's the bar top. And then underneath that, we have this really cool print. I'm not even exactly sure what it is, but the minute I saw it, I was like, this is really cool. And it's just kind of this like nice little aqua blue with like lots of gold in there. And it's really just a print that we affixed to the front of the bar. And then, of course, what's always really important to me is having very comfortable seating. And so these are some blue velvet bar stools. And so that way, when you sit down over here, it's like, it's so nice, so comforting. You can probably have 5 or 6 tequila shots, 3 or 4 cocktails, have a great time over here. You'll be comfy the whole time. Kind of what else do we have over here? So we got to have the, I feel like a bar, there's always details in it, And so we have this cool little foot rail. And so that way, if you're ever sitting down there, you have something to grab on. Of course, for the ladies, you always got to have the purse hooks. Very key, very important. That was one thing when we were designing the space. My sister was like, make sure there's purse hooks and outlets everywhere. And so even here, it's like you can hang your purse, charge your phone, get a drink, everything you need, all in one shot. Behind the bar, we have a few kind of just like little knickknacks and stuff that came from different guests, but also that are just mine. If you kind of look on this right-hand side, there's like an old Indian sword. You want me to go back there? Yeah. And so if you kind of come back here, of course, we always got some lovely plants on here. We have our new Tikmo chai, which we're selling now. So always got to have some of that. Over here, we have like some cool stuff. So this is actually an old sword. Let's see if I can kind of grab it. But when I was a kid, we went to India this was in 1995. And we traveled to Jaipur, which has a lot of beautiful castles. And as a kid, I was obsessed with swords. And like every superhero that had a sword was like my favorite one. Leonardo was my favorite Ninja Turtle, all that kind of stuff, because he had a sword. And so I asked my dad when we were going through these castles if I could get one. And he was like, absolutely not. You can't have a sword. And I finally wore him down and convinced him that I should have some. So I was able to get them, but the rule was I could never play with them. And so for like 20 years, this was just on my wall in my room. And then late 20s, I started getting into sabering champagne. And that was just like a super fun thing for me. And so I went to my parents' house, got these off the wall, and started sabering champagne with them. And so whenever you come to Tailor, if you want a bottle sabered, we can do that for you. But it's also just kind of like a cool little, kind of thing that we keep here. It's nice and fun. This is a sword in Hindi. It's actually called talwar, which is indicative of the shape of this blade. It's completely dull now, so it's no fun to do anything with, but it's a fun little piece of home to keep. And then we got a bunch of other things over here. This was actually given to me by one of our farmers, Brittany Blackshear, who owns Blue Heron Farmstead. She used to run a food truck in here called Crepadiem in Nashville as well. And now she bought a farm, and she dried a bunch of flowers and put them in a little ornament for us. And so when we opened this space, she kind of gifted us that. And then one of my longtime chefs, Allie, she started with us maybe a month after we opened the restaurant. And her son, Kai, goes to school at Nashville School of Arts, and came here, did a project, took a picture of a part of the living room, and then painted it with watercolor. And now we actually use Kai's art on our menus as well. And so it's like really kind of fun way to incorporate members of the Tailor family into our story as well. Kind of down here, we got some cool little shot glasses. I had gone to Sonoma with my sister, and she was redoing her house, and so was trying to get a lot of different furniture and vintage things. And while I was there, I was like, well, I'm going to pick up shot glasses for Tailor. And so, I picked up like a few different ones. So it's like, if you ever get a shot, probably come in like a cool little glass like that or something like that. And then kind of like as much as we come down here, this backdrop is a little bit of plaster. The color, our team lovingly refers to it as Tailor green. We try to have a lot of those more warming colors here, because I think a lot of restaurants are very much like in the minimal style. And so it might just be like very white, very clean, lots of natural light. In Indian culture, and especially what we try to do here, our culture is a maximalist culture. There's lots of color everywhere. And so we wanted to bring in those rich tones that are, this Tailor green, gold, the deep blues, oranges that you'll see in the dining room and things like that, to really add a lot of warmth to the space. So that way when you come in, it doesn't feel as, like just commercial or minimalistic. It really gives you that sense of warmth and home. On the other side of the dining room, we kind of have this cool little, we call it the lounge area, but it's just kind of like a space that people can kind of hang out. At the top here, we have this drop ceiling, and then we have a little dried floral installation. And so here I really wanted to showcase a lot of the welcoming flowers of India. To me, like whenever, or really in our culture, like whenever there's a guest of honor that comes into your home, they're always greeted with a garland of marigolds. So whether it's an elder that's coming, whether it's like a politician, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, you always kind of make these garlands of marigolds for them. We also put my grandmother's favorite flower, which is jasmine. She used to grow this outside of our house, and also every day she would put it and weave it into her hair as well. And so it always has this amazing aroma to it, and one of my favorite plants. And so we put that there as a nod to my grandmother, because we have grandpa's sewing machine, grandma's favorite flowers. We always keep our ancestors close by with us. And of course we have the roses as well, which is a very welcoming flower. And so that way, as you're sitting down here, then you kind of have that, you kind of have, all these elements of Indian culture, which are the elements that show welcome and hospitality to others. We have this great little garage door that brings in some nice natural light. And then, it's like a couple of my favorite things. I just love these chairs. They're so loungy. When we were working on the furniture, we were working with our friends at Pfefferture Road Architecture, right over here in Nashville. And so they were showing me some different furniture, and I was like, okay, cool, that all sounds great. But I was like, I got to make sure that I can sit in them and make sure they feel nice. And to me, it's like just seating is very important, making sure things are comfortable are great. And so we have these nice little pieces where if you're coming in with a group of 4 or something like that, you can come down here in the lounge, you can hang out, have a couple of drinks before we take you into the dining room. Last thing that I love about the living room is right over here. We have a plaque that was given to us by Bon Appetit when we were named one of the top 10 best new restaurants in the country when we opened in 2019. It was really just an amazing honor for us to be mentioned. Bon Appetit was a magazine that I read all the time, and so to have them come in here and recognize what we were doing as one of the best in the country was really just something that was so humbling to us and something that we hope to aspire to and live up to every single day. And so we keep that little piece of artwork right over here. And then after that, we'll head over and show you the wine cellar and the bathrooms. All right, now let's go check out the wine cellar. This is obviously one of my favorite rooms in the restaurant. I spend a lot of time drinking wine, tasting wine, making sure that the guests have some great stuff to order when they're at the table, and also great wines to pair with the meal. To me, I think I used to work at a wine auction for a while, and so learned a lot about it, got to taste some of the greatest wines in the world, and really wanted to make sure that we have some great wines here that guests can enjoy at the table, but also great wines that really pair with our food. And so, I've always got a couple of favorites in here, and so I figured I'd show y'all a couple. This is a little wine from Rioja in Spain. It's by one of my favorite producers in the world, which is Lopez de Heredia. This is their Reserva version. You can see their current vintage 2012. But it's a amazing red wine, really full of body, great acidity as well. And just something that, it's kind of one of those last meal wines for sure for me. And so truly love that one. Of course, I'm a complete champagne nerd and love champagne. This is a cool one. It's from the house Paul Barra. A lot of times, people, there's like the big brand champagnes, and then there's the grower champagnes. And to me, the grower champagnes are people who own and farm their own vineyards and then make champagne from the grapes that they own and grow. And to me, there's just so much high quality that goes into those. And Paul Barra just being one of my favorite producers. And this one I can totally saber with the sword that I showed you up in the living room. And then another one that I love is down here. Riesling gets a bad rap. Everybody thinks about that blue bottle that you had in college. And yeah, that stuff is not good. But in terms of white wines, I think it just has the largest range of taste that you can have. They can be super dry all the way up to ultra sweet, but because they have such great sweetness as well as acidity, they can also age for a long time. And so, aged Rieslings I think is one of my favorite things in the world, but also this producer from Germany in the Mosel Valley, JJ Prum, just makes some fantastic Rieslings. And so those are a couple of my favorite bottles from in here. And if you ever want to try them, come see me. I'll pour you some. It'll be fun. One of the most important parts about a restaurant to me is the bathroom. If you're coming to Tailor for that luxury dining experience, you also need a luxury bathroom experience. A couple of years ago, we actually got voted best bathroom in Nashville by the Nashville Scene. So that's a title that we're super proud of, and we try to make ours the best. So come check it out. All right, so this here is the Tailor bathroom. Of course, we just want to create an amazing vibe once you come in here. And so we got we have like more candles than anybody would ever need that get lit in here. The mirrors that we got are actually also from my parents' house. They used to have these hanging in there, and they're just these ornate ones that they got in an antique shop back in the early 90s. And then when I was looking for stuff to put in here, then I was like, cool, let's take all that stuff and put it in. Of course, you got to have a great toilet. These have bidets and heated seats. And so whenever it's super cold outside, it's very nice and comforting. And I remember like when we installed this, we were talking with the architects and I was like, okay, we need an electrical panel there and we need hot water and cold water. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And then even when we put the electrical in, the electrician came up to us and was like, are you sure you want an electrical outlet there? And I was like, yes, don't worry about what's going to happen, but it's going to be great. And so we got, that really nice kind of bathroom experience over there. It's got its own remote. It's got directions. It's fantastic. And then we kind of have some cool stuff. So there's little details in the floor. And so if you see it, there's like these little gold plates all around the bathroom, which are indicative of a Tailor stitch. And so if you were stitching something and kind of going up and down, that you would have that. So that's kind of a fun detail. We have this beautiful green tile. And then of course, a full length mirror. Because it's like when we opened it, my sister was like, hey, make sure that you have great lighting in there, but also make sure that there's a full length mirror. And so that way we can make sure that, everybody can check out their whole outfit and, make sure they're looking good. The last piece, which I love here, is this little vanity table. When my dad moved to Tennessee in '78, he was in a real small town called Manchester, which is now world famous because of Bonnaroo. But he had bought this small motel there. It was like 15 rooms. And this was actually the vanity table from that old motel, which was called Budget Motel. Then my grandmother took it and she used it as the base of her flour mill, which is something that we also use here. After my grandmother used it, then my sister spray painted it yellow, and then she used it as her desk. And then when my sister moved to LA, then we brought it over here, spray painted it gold. And now it's a little piece from my dad's first entrepreneurial journey in Tennessee that now has its home here in my first entrepreneurial journey. So now we're going to walk into the dining room. The whole idea was like when you walk into the living room, we wanted to really create a moment when you walked in. And so the wow factor that we really have are those 4 chandeliers over the bar. Then when you come into the dining room, we wanted to create that second wow factor because up here you're comfortable, you're having a great time, you're having a couple of drinks. And while you get settled, then we wanted to surprise everybody with what they're about to see next, which is the dining room. So let's go check it out.
There we go. Nice.
Kind of as you're coming in here, we have this little space that we call the butler's pantry, and that's really where a lot of our service team make sure that we have all of our, silverware, glassware, water, all that kind of stuff, to make sure that we have everything that we need for the service. We made the archway in the traditional Gujarati architecture, and so Gujarat is the state of India that my family came from. And when I was talking with my mom about it, she said that what's really indicative of a lot of Gujarati architecture is this curve. And so we wanted to incorporate that as someone is walking into the dining room. As people walk into the dining room, you can see it here. It's not huge, but it's about 30 seats that we have in the dining room, and then we have about 6 seats at the chef's bar. Just like with every piece of seating, we wanted to make sure that everything was super comfortable, and so we have these little teal booths back here, and I think I probably sat on maybe 12 or 15 different cushions to figure out the one that I like the most. This one has 4 inches of foam on it, and so that way you can kind of sit down and it is just like, it is nice and comfortable. And so when you're here for, a 2.5 hour experience, you really, you don't get tired just sitting in the chair. A cool little feature about all of these benches is that we can actually take the cushions out, and then underneath all of them is a ton of storage as well. And so we keep like, plates, paper towels, like all that kind of stuff up in there, so that way we can utilize it for storage as well. One of my favorite things are these tables. And so when we first opened in 2018, we were actually in a different location, and that old location used to be a restaurant called Kuchny and Keller, and it was like a Polish Milwaukee kind of German beer hall, and they had these super long tables, and unfortunately, it was a great restaurant, but unfortunately it closed down, and so we were able to buy those tables from them, and what we did was these were tables made by the Amish, but then we cut it up into a bunch of different two-tops, so that way they could be our dining room tables. A lot of times people come here and they're always like, it's a dinner party, do I have to sit with people that I don't know? And here our answer is no, you don't have to. You can come as a party of one, as a party of two, and you have your own table, even though it's a communal dining experience. Of course, we also have these chairs here, which are super comfortable to sit in as well. And then along the back wall, we just wanted to create like all these different little tchotchkes and things that I took from my parents' home as well. We got a couple of bottles of Krug over there, which is my all-time favorite champagne. If they ever want to sponsor me, I'm in. But my buddy Canal always gives me one once a year on our anniversary. And so after we drink them, then we'll put them up there. We have these are the three monkeys, which are the see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil, which was something that we got from India. These are handis, or traditional serviceware in India, that my mom actually brought coconuts with. Because in Hindu culture, whenever you're starting a business and doing something auspicious, you always crack a coconut. And if you're able to crack that coconut on the first time, then it means that whatever you're doing is going to have a lot of good luck. And so luckily, ours got cracked on the first time, but that's what my mom brought them in. And then kind of like as you're coming down, this was actually my grandfather's oil can for his sewing machine. And so this is a little heirloom piece that I'm super excited about, and I'm just so honored to have, because this used to be my grandfather's sewing machine was my nightstand as a kid, and so this used to always kind of be there when I would go to sleep, and now it's something that's a piece of my grandfather that I'm allowed to keep over here. Here is one of the coconuts that we brought when we did the puja for being here. This cool little gold duck was something that was given to us by one of our contractors. He just came in one day and was like, hey, there's something that I want to give you. And so that's just kind of a cool piece that kind of stands. And then back over here, we actually got like 3 really special bottles of wine that all come from my buddy Ryan. When I first started doing supper clubs back in 2011, Ryan was really a person that would come and help me make cocktails for it. And so his family business is, they're in the liquor business. And it's like when we would do these dinners, I would make 5 courses of food. Ryan would make 5 different cocktails, and I'd talk about the food. He'd talk about the cocktails. And for about, 2.5, 3 years, like we did all of our dinners together. And so, now he's gone on and, very successful and just an awesome guy. But whenever he comes in, he always brings in like a nice little bottle from his cellar, and then we're able to open it and pop it up over there. So, always glad to have him as part of the restaurant, even though he's not here day to day. Then kind of as we're going around over here, we have, this is also just another favorite detail of mine. It's kind of these like lion book ends, and those were something that my dad also found in antique while they were antiquing. And then we have a bunch of magazines here called Tonal. This was a magazine that my sister created. She self-published it, and she's so amazingly creative, and she really helped drive a lot of what we do here at Tailor aesthetically. And this was a magazine that she created that I think just showcases so much of her talent, and how forward-thinking she is, how amazing she is. And as a kid, you know, and as a brother, you're always just like, oh, that's my little sister. I don't think she can ever do anything on her own. And I think when she really created that, I was just so blown away and got to really enjoy kind of like all the skills that she has. And it's like, now I think our relationship is so different because we both see each other as equals. And so it's like whenever I need someone to tell me, hey, you're doing this wrong, or if I'm looking for inspiration somewhere, I know I can always go to Zerna because she's going to show me something that nobody else can. So here we have, like, this was the one original wall that we kept when we built out this space. The rest of it was pretty much just concrete. The floor was gravel, but this was like original brick that they had. This building was a boiler room for Worthen, which was a publishing company. And one of the reasons why it was kind of famous is Miss Daisy in the movie Driving Miss Daisy, she was the owner of a company inspired by Worthen, and it was shot here as well. And so this is kind of an original piece. On the other side of this wall is an amazing restaurant called Rolf and Daughters, which is one of my favorite places to go. And I'm just really glad that we're next door. And so while most of the brick is original, we actually have this panel right here, which you can see. This was a door. And so what we did was we actually filled it in with brick. And then we had a local artist who works down the street. His name is Robert Overton Jones. He came in, put in this brick, and then did like an antiquing treatment on it. And so that way we could kind of have that view of like that old brick wall kind of all throughout the space. And then, of course, we got our fun little skylight up in there. And so this provides some awesome natural light into the space, and we really love it. It's for half the year, you know, it's like the 6 p.m. service will get a good amount of sunlight. And then for the other half, once daylight savings rolls in, it's just pitch black at 5 o'clock. But it's always really nice to have the service when that light's coming down in. And then, of course, we have this stunning little chandelier that was another piece that my dad got at an antique store in 1993. He told me that there were 2 antique stores in town. There was one on Nolensville Road and one on Sitco, and both of them were going out of business, and they both had these giant chandeliers. And so he just kind of went in there and negotiated and told them, hey, if I take all of these, can you give me a really good price? And they were like, yeah. And so when we came to the restaurant, we really wanted to put this chandelier in here. We had to make sure that the ceiling was big, tall enough to make sure that we could get it, so that weeded out quite a few places. But it really is just a stunning piece that we're so excited to have here. And a cool little anecdote was we had a guest that came in, and he owns a store on Whitebridge Road, and he told me that these chandeliers actually came in the 1920s with a lady from France. And he said that there were 3 that she came with. He was like, you have one of them. He said, I have one of them in my store. And he's like, the third one is at a lady that owns it in Charleston. And so hopefully we'll do another video one day where we'll go to his store and we'll check out that chandelier to really kind of see the ones that they all came together. They're brothers and sisters. And so now we'll roll into the kitchen. Over here, this is what we call our chef's bar. And so you can sit here and then kind of look into the kitchen, or you can sit in the dining room. But it's really kind of, I think, one of the best seats in the house. We have, again, that black quartz that we had in the front bar. And then this was another very similar table to the ones that we have in the dining room. But this was just a smaller table that they had at Kuchny and Keller. And this was the original bar at Tailor as well. So when we were in our other space, when we first opened, we had this piece of wood and that piece of wood butt jointed together, which was our first bar. And here we split them up so that way we have a nice little beautiful wood surface to work on, as well as to serve the guest. If you come with me over here, we kind of have our dry storage and everything like that. And so all of this is white oak from Tennessee. And we wanted to have a place where we can put a little bit of our service materials, as well as kind of hold our spice rack. For us, being first-generation American cuisine and South Asian food specifically, spices is a huge component of what we do. And so we wanted to show all those spices to everybody. A lot of our spices come from single-origin regenerative farmers, mostly in India. We source them from our really good friend Arika, who works at Suraj Spices and Teas. It's one of the greatest spice shops in the country that we're so lucky to have here in Nashville. And we also work with our friend Sana, who owns an amazing company called Diaspora, where she is really kind of flipping the spice trade on its head and making sure that the farmers in India are paid more than fair trade wages, that we're getting the freshest spices possible, and really going to places that are selling spices the right way. And so really excited to partner with those two women on so many of the spices that we bring in, that we bring into the space. We also kind of keep our little collection of cookbooks. And so there's not that many Gujarati cookbooks, but we've got a couple here. And so whenever we need to reference some regional Indian dishes, or we're looking for inspiration on what we're going to put on the new menu, and then we'll kind of come to these little cookbooks. This is a little pig. My dad gave it to me when we opened the place, and usually I'll explain kind of every dish as it comes out. And so my dad was like, "Oh, you can have this little thing, and it will make a noise, and that's what you can use to get everybody's attention." And so we have that pig right there. And then I'll say, kind of like my all-time favorite kitchen tool is this mortar and pestle. This is made out of one solid piece of granite. And to me, it's like I love doing things in the old ways that they were always done, because to me, those old techniques really tie you back into your culture. And so, yes, it's like we can totally use blenders and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes when I'm just at home cooking for myself, and even if we're able to do it here at the restaurant, it's like if there's spices that we can grind by mortar and pestle, if there's a sauce that we can make in there, if there's anything that we can do to kind of connect us more with our roots, that's the kind of cooking that I love to do. So after that, we'll come over here to the kitchen counter. This was a custom piece for us that was built by my buddy Edgar. And so what I loved about this piece is we're really set up for 4 stations. And so we have four cooks that are here. And the idea is that everything that any cook would need is right where they're standing. And so everybody has access to a cutting board. They got a couple of drawers, a speed rack, trash can, a electrical outlet, a fridge, and plenty of workspace. And so that way, when we're cranking out lots of different dishes and things like that, we got plenty of space to work. Everybody has everything that they need right at their disposal. And the cooks are really kind of able to do their best work, and they're never limited by the equipment or the space or anything like that. And it's really just a joy to work on. After that, we come over here and we got kind of our line. So this is another custom grill. It was built by my buddy Edgar again. And so we kind of treat it just like it's like a kebab grill. And so down here we'll build the fire with a little bit of charcoal and a little bit of wood. And what's fun is that we can cook very hot down here, and so that way if we want to sear anything, or we're making kebabs or something that wants a quick cook or a really good char, then we cook that lower. And then the higher you go, the slower and more gentle the heat is. So like if we're doing like fish kebabs or something like that, we'll cook it all the way down on the bottom. Chicken kebabs, we might cook just a little bit slower and a little bit higher. But also if we're cooking like a big roast or something like that, we might start it all the way up here and then build a little bit of a hotter fire, let the roast slowly come up to temperature, and then we can also just add a couple of logs in there, give it some nice smoke, and kind of have all that flavor in there. So kind of depending on how much smoke we want to add, or how fast we want to cook it, then we just kind of go up and down on the level of the grill. But that's probably my favorite part of the kitchen, is just grilling over here. And then we come over here where we got our range 6 burners with convection at the bottom. We have a fun little flat top. where of course, it's like the first thing that I feel you have to make on this is one of those onion volcanoes. And so we do that, but a lot of our breads and production and all that kind of stuff happens on the flat top. And then we have super small fryer. We don't fry that much stuff here at Tailor, but it's like whenever we do need that delicious fried fish on the menu, or those little fried components, or even a lot of our snacks and things like that, then we'll pop them in the fryer. And then probably my favorite piece of equipment besides the grill is our Rational combi oven. So it's something that people look at during service and they're like, is that thing a car wash, or like what is it? Because it's just so fun. But it's basically can be a full steam oven, or it's a full convection heat, or it can be any combination of the two. It's something that cleans itself. But in terms of like making our bread, cookies, anything that we're roasting, even holding during service, it's a great piece of equipment, and so glad that we have it. And then over here is kind of where we keep all of our plates. And so most of our plates come from East Fork Pottery out in Asheville, North Carolina. What I love about them is that they all stack, which is something that's super important in a restaurant kitchen, but they have this really nice weight to them. They're built by a company that really kind of understands restaurants and how much we go through and how many times the plates go through the dishwasher and all that kind of stuff. And they come in these beautiful colors. And like for us, it's like we don't love white plates, and every time that we can add color to something, we want to be able to do that, because that's part of what makes us who we are. And so we keep a lot of those there. And then these are biryani bowls that we actually got from my uncle in India. My mom worked with him, and then they got him sent over. But we always do one rice dish at the end of every meal, and so the rice dish will always come in the biryani bowls. All right, everybody. Now that you've seen our home, come see us for dinner. You can make your reservations at tailornashville.com. We're open from Thursday through Sunday. We got seatings at 6 and 8:30. We can't wait to welcome y'all for dinner. All right, see y'all later. Get out of here. Bye.